you ever stop to think that humanity has dedicated centuries to mapping distant constellations, to deciphering the secrets of planets millions of kilometers away, but right here beneath our feet, there is an almost entirely unknown universe? Yes, I'm talking about our oceans, this immense blue mass that covers more than 70% of the Earth, a volume so colossal that it makes the dry land seem like just scattered islands. And the most shocking thing, scientific estimates indicate that we have in fact explored less than 5% of this underwater kingdom. 5%! 95% remain an absolute mystery, a final frontier right here on our planet. Just imagine what hides in these abyssal depths, under miles and miles of water that exerts pressure so crushing that it could turn a submarine into metal dust in an instant. A perpetual darkness, where no ray of sunlight has ever dared to penetrate. A freezing cold that challenges life itself as we know it. There, in this otherworldly environment, resides an alien ecosystem, a realm of oppressive silence and terrifying wonder. We have launched the James Webb Telescope to peer into the origins of the universe. We have sent rovers to Mars in search of signs of past life. But the abyss beneath the waves, that deep dark expanse, remains a monumental enigma, holding secrets that our science has barely begun to scratch. What if this unfathomable expanse is more than just home to bioluminescent creatures and extremophile life forms that look like they were plucked from a cosmic nightmare? What if the ocean floor, at its most remote and inaccessible points, is an interface, a connection to elsewhere, a scar in the very fabric of reality, a subtle or perhaps colossal portal to a parallel universe hidden beneath the dense and protective mantle of the planet's deepest waters? The idea sounds like pure fantasy, doesn't it? B-movie stuff, baseless conspiracy theories. But what if it isn't? What if persistent magnetic anomalies inexplicable sounds like the famous Bloop, an underwater roar so powerful that it echoed for thousands of kilometers and whose origin is still debated? The infamous disappearances in the Bermuda Triangle or the Devil's Sea, where technology fails and logic seems to dissolve, are more than coincidences or poorly understood phenomena. What if they are fragmentary clues, whispers from the depths indicating that something fundamental about the nature of our existence is hidden there, beneath the crushing pressure? And the creatures? The creatures we have already cataloged are a spectacle of strangeness and adaptation. But what if there are others? Life forms that not only evolved there, but arrived there, coming from another plane of existence through this supposed interdimensional passage. Creatures that perhaps, in ways we can't even imagine, are already among us, camouflaged, watching, waiting. Does this possibility scare you? Leaves your mind buzzing with questions? If you are like me, a tireless explorer of mysteries that defy our understanding, if you feel that there is more between heaven and earth and the bottom of the sea than our vain philosophy can explain, then do your part so we can continue this journey. Leave your like on this video right now. It's a simple gesture, but it helps us immensely to reach more curious minds. And if you fell here by parachute, attracted by the call of the unknown, don't hesitate, click the subscribe button and activate the notification bell. This way, you guarantee your place in the front row for each new expedition we make to the darkest and most fascinating corners of the universe and our own existence. I assure you, what we are about to unveil goes far beyond what you can conceive. Let's dive even deeper, far beyond what sunlight dares to reach, into territory that defies the very definition of life. Let us think of the Mariana Trench, the deepest scar in the Earth's crust, an abyss that plunges almost 11,000 meters below the surface of the Pacific. 11 vertical kilometers of water. Try to visualize this. It's a depth greater than the cruising altitude of most commercial airliners. The pressure at this point, known as Challenger Deep, is simply unimaginable, exceeding 1,000 times the atmospheric pressure we feel here at sea level. Is the equivalent of having the weight of 50 jumbo jets bearing down on every square inch of your body, or for a more direct analogy, as if an elephant were balancing on the tip of your big toe. Surviving there for us surface beings would be instantly fatal, an immediate implosion. Yet against all odds, life not only exists, it flourishes in bizarre and spectacular ways. Robotic submersibles have brought back images of ghostly creatures, translucent fish with skeletons barely calcified to withstand pressure, giant amphipods that look like prehistoric crustaceans, and single-celled organisms called foraminifera that thrive in this extreme environment. But perhaps the most fascinating thing are the ecosystems that form around hydrothermal vents, true underwater volcanic chimneys that expel superheated water, rich in sulfur and other minerals that are toxic to most life on the surface. Discovered only in the 1970s, these springs support oases of life that operate independently of sunlight. Instead of photosynthesis, the basis of this food chain is chemosynthesis specialized bacteria that metabolize chemical compounds such as hydrogen sulfide to produce energy. Giant tube worms without mouths or digestive systems, blind crabs, mussels, and shrimp adapted to this hellish chemical environment. It's a life form so alien that it forces us to reconsider the limits of biology. This in itself would be the subject of countless explorations. But what about the sounds emanating from these unexplored depths? The case of Bloop is emblematic. Picked up in 1997 by a NOAA hydrophone network, originally designed to detect Soviet submarines during the Cold War, this ultra-low frequency, colossal volume sound has intrigued scientists for years. Its acoustic signature suggested an animal origin, but its power was such that it would have to be produced by a creature much, much larger than the blue whale, the largest animal known on our planet. Speculations ran wild on modern kraken, an unknown abyssal creature of titanic proportions. Years later, additional analysis led NOAA to conclude that the sound was likely consistent with ice quakes, the noise generated by large icebergs fracturing and scraping the seabed in Antarctica thousands of miles from where some of the sensors were located. Probably, but this explanation, although plausible, did not satisfy everyone. The unique nature of the sound, its amplitude, the doubt persists. Could it be something more? Something alive? A leviathan from the depths not yet cataloged? Or maybe the sound of something unnatural? A machine? An unknown geophysical anomaly? Or perhaps the sound of dimensional instability? And what about the infamous disappearing zones like the Bermuda Triangle in the Atlantic or the Devil's Sea near Japan? Areas where countless ships and aircraft have disappeared over the decades, often in perfect weather conditions, without leaving wreckage, without issuing distress calls. Reports speak of compasses that spin wildly, instruments that go crazy, strange mists that appear out of nowhere, and even temporal distortions. Conventional explanations are many and varied human error. Sudden and violent storms, rogue waves, complex ocean currents, eruptions of methane gas from the ocean floor that can drastically reduce water density and sink ships, or magnetic anomalies that affect navigation. Each of these explanations may justify some incidents, but none seems to encompass the entirety of the reported phenomena. What if these areas are not just geographically dangerous, but fundamentally unstable on a deeper level? Weak points in our reality? Places where the laws of physics, as we know them, become temporarily malleable, allowing anomalies, where the very structure of space-time could present fissures, folds, or ephemeral portals. Modern theoretical physics, especially string theory and M-theory, postulates the existence of extra dimensions curled up on tiny scales imperceptible to us. Concepts such as wormholes, Einstein-Rosen bridges, which would connect distant points in space-time, although purely theoretical, and requiring exotic conditions such as negative energy matter to be stable and traversable, continue to fascinate physicists. Could it be possible that the extreme conditions found in the ocean, depths, the colossal pressure, the immense geothermal energies released by hydrothermal vents, the intense and perhaps still unknown electromagnetic fields generated by the Earth's internal dynamics, could somehow interact with these extra dimensions or create the conditions necessary for the formation of micro wormholes or other forms of space-time anomalies? A passage, perhaps unstable and dangerous, but still a bridge to another place, another time, or another dimension. Now let us turn our gaze to the very creatures that inhabit this pressurized darkness. Those that science has managed to catalog, however briefly, are a stunning testament to the tenacity of life, and frankly, the stuff of nightmares. Think of the ogre fish Anoplogaster cornuta with its disproportionate head and teeth so long that it can't even close its mouth completely. Or the viperfish Charliotis sloani with fangs that stick out, ready to impale any unsuspecting prey. And what about the anglerfish Lopiformes, perhaps the most iconic denizen of the deep, with its sinister bioluminescent fishing rod dangling in front of a cavernous mouth, a death trap in pitch darkness. We cannot forget the giant isopod Bathynomus giganteus, a crustacean that looks like an armored and enlarged version of a land cockroach, reaching half a meter in length, roaming the seabed like an organic battle tank. And the dragonfish Stomidae, with their elongated bodies, sharp teeth, and multiple light-producing organs, the photophores, which blink and glow in complex patterns. These are just some of the life forms we know of, each of them a masterpiece of adaptation to an environment we consider hellish. Crushing pressure, extreme cold, total absence of sunlight, scarcity of food. Evolution has shaped these beings in ways that defy our understanding. But what if some of these extreme adaptations weren't just the result of natural selection acting in isolation for millions of years? What if certain traits were more than just responses to pressure and darkness? What if they were traces, biological echoes of a different origin, of a connection to something or somewhere beyond our conventional understanding of Earth life? Let's consider bioluminescence, this magical ability to produce its own light. It is incredibly common in the ocean depths, an essential tool for surviving where the sun cannot reach. Used to attract prey, as an anglerfish for communication between individuals of the same species, for camouflage, confusing predators looking from below, counterlighting, or to scare attackers with a sudden flash. The diversity of colors, blues, greens, reds, a color almost invisible to many inhabitants of the depths, and the complexity of the light patterns are dizzying. Could any of these luminous displays be more than meets the eye? A form of coded language that we don't understand. A type of interdimensional signaling, perhaps involuntary? A residual energetic signature from a crossing between universes? It seems like an absurd idea at first glance, I know. But let's connect the dots with another persistent and equally mysterious phenomenon, UFOs, or as they are now more formally called, phony unidentified anomalous phenomena. In recent decades, and especially in recent years, with the release of videos and testimonies from highly trained military pilots, the issue of phony is no longer the exclusive preserve of conspiracy theorists. Credible reports describe objects performing aerial maneuvers that defy the laws of physics as we know them: instantaneous accelerations, hypersonic speeds without sonic boom, abrupt changes of direction that would crush any human pilot. And crucially for our discussion, many of these accounts include objects that move effortlessly between air and water, objects that plunge into the ocean at incredible speeds without causing the expected water displacement, or that emerge from the depths and shoot into the sky in the blink of an eye. These are often called OSNIO's unidentified underwater objects. Where do these transmedium objects come from? The extraterrestrial hypothesis is the most popular, but what if the origin is closer and at the same time further away? What if they're not coming from other planets but from another dimension? What if they're using our planet's vast unexplored oceans not just as a convenient hiding place, but as access points? Points where supposed interdimensional cracks or portals at the bottom of the sea allow entry and exit from our world. What about the creatures mentioned in the title, those that are already among us? Here the speculation becomes even wilder, but no less intriguing. I'm not necessarily talking about colossal sea monsters like the biblical Leviathan or the Norse Kraken emerging to attack ships, although these ancient legends may be distorted echoes of real encounters with something inexplicable. I'm thinking of something perhaps more subtle, more insidious. If an interdimensional portal exists, it would be logical to assume that it functions as a two-way street. Just as something from our world could perhaps cross over to the other side, something from there could come here. What life forms could exist in a parallel universe with potentially different physical laws? Perhaps they are not physical beings like us, but energetic entities, disembodied consciousnesses, or life forms based on principles that our science does not even conceive. Could these entities cross over to our side? Could they influence our world, our technology, our own consciousness in ways we don't realize? Or maybe They could adapt, manifest physically in our environment, take on forms that can survive here, perhaps even mimicking existing life forms. Let's think about some of the strangest creatures in our own ocean. The jellyfish Turritopsis dohrnii, known as the immortal jellyfish. It possesses the unique ability to reverse its life cycle, reverting from a mature stage to a juvenile polyp stage when faced with environmental stress or aging, potentially repeating the cycle indefinitely. Biological immortality, how common is this? And the octopuses. These cephalopods display intelligence that rivals that of some vertebrates. The ability for complex learning, problem solving, tool use, and an almost supernatural camouflage ability, changing skin color and texture in seconds to blend seamlessly into their surroundings. They have 3 hearts, blue blood based on hemocyan and copper instead of iron, and a distributed nervous system with most neurons in their arms. Their evolutionary lineage diverged from ours hundreds of millions of years ago, leading some scientists, half seriously, half jokingly, to suggest that they are the closest thing to an alien intelligence we will find on Earth. What if all this weirdness, this biological alien, is just a fascinating result of convergent evolution or a unique evolutionary path in an isolated environment? What if it's a subtle hint of a different connection? A lineage that at some unimaginably distant point in the past, perhaps through horizontal gene transfer or some other form of interdimensional interaction, facilitated by these abyssal portals, came into contact with something or somewhere fundamentally different from our world? What if some of the creatures we now classify as simply bizarre are in fact the distant and highly adapted descendants of interdimensional travelers, or the result of biological contamination from another universe through the depths? Or, taking the speculation a step further, what if some of these creatures spotted in the depths, or even the Faniosnis, are not living beings in the traditional sense, but rather technologies, advanced biomechanical probes, surveillance drones sent from another universe, silently watching us from the impenetrable depths of our own planet? Of course, we need to keep our feet, or rather, our fins, firmly anchored in scientific reality, at least for a moment. Everything we've explored, abyssal portals, interdimensional creatures, UFOs using the ocean as a base, belongs for now to the realm of speculation. Pure and fascinating, but still speculation. Conventional science, with its methodological rigor and its basis in observable and replicable evidence, will offer us more earthly explanations. He will rightly tell us that abyssal creatures, however bizarre they may seem, are extraordinary products of Darwinian evolution, shaped over millions of years by the relentless selective pressures of an extreme environment. That strange sounds like the Bloop have likely geological explanations, like ice quakes, or are simply vocalizations of gigantic animals not yet catalogued after all. Only a tiny fraction of the ocean has been explored. That the infamous disappearances in the Bermuda Triangle and other similar areas are most likely the result of a tragic combination of well-known factors, unpredictable and violent weather, human error in navigation or piloting, mechanical failures, the complexity of ocean currents, or natural phenomena such as giant waves and methane eruptions. That Faniosnis, although intriguing and officially recognized as real, could be a see-it-to understood atmospheric phenomena, advanced drones ours or those of other nations, sensor errors, or simply genuinely unidentified objects that still lack sufficient data for a definitive conclusion. This is the rational skeptical view, anchored in the scientific method, and it is an essential vision. But what about the absence of definitive evidence to rule out the extraordinary? Doesn't the very fact that 95% of the ocean's volume remains an absolute mystery, a territory more unknown to us than the surface of Mars or the Moon, in itself open a window into the unexpected, into the truly strange? Why such a huge disparity in our exploration efforts? Why do we invest billions upon billions in looking outward to distant stars for answers about life and the universe, and comparatively so little in looking inward into the dark, pressurized depths of our own planet? Was it just a matter of cost and technical difficulty? Without a doubt, exploring the deep ocean is an immense technological challenge, perhaps even greater than space exploration in some aspects. But is that all? Or was there another reason, perhaps deeper, more psychological? An unconscious, almost primordial fear of what we could find in the abyss. An ancestral fear of darkness, of the unknown, of what hides beneath the calm and inviting surface of the waters. The ocean, in many cultures, is a symbol of the unconscious, of mystery, of primordial chaos. Perhaps our reluctance to fully explore it reflects a fear of confronting not just strange creatures, but uncomfortable truths about our planet and our place on it. Perhaps the truth that resides in the abyssal pits is so strange, so fundamentally different from our current understanding of physics, biology, and reality itself, that we are simply not prepared for it. Perhaps we have built our worldview on an incomplete foundation, ignoring the vast universe that exists beneath the waves. Perhaps the ocean floor is not just a place of physical darkness and crushing pressure, but also a blind spot in our collective perception, a domain where the rules we believe govern the universe bend, break, or simply don't apply in the same way. What if those creatures that are already among us aren't necessarily physical monsters with teeth and claws, crawling out of the sea? What if they are something more subtle, influences, ideas that seem to come out of nowhere, anomalies that we detect in the limits of our science, in inexplicable data, in patterns that don't fit? Think about the phenomena of synchronicity, those meaningful coincidences that seem to defy probability. Think about the moments of deep intuition, the flashes of creativity that seem to come from outside our conscious mind. Could a subtle interdimensional connection, perhaps emanating from these supposed zones of instability under the sea, be somehow interacting with our collective consciousness, planting seeds, influencing our technological or cultural development in ways we have barely begun to imagine? The very idea of a portal at the bottom of the sea, which today seems like something out of science fiction or a conspiracy theory, finds echoes in ancient myths and legends from almost all coastal cultures. Stories of submerged cities like Atlantis, Lemuria, or wise of watery kingdoms inhabited by magical beings or gods of secret passages beneath the waves that lead to other worlds. Are all these stories just figments of human imagination, attempts to explain the power and mystery of the ocean? Or were they a distorted echo, a fragmented cultural memory of a deep, hidden truth? A truth that still whispers from the darkest abyssal pits, patiently waiting to be rediscovered. Or perhaps waiting for something else to come from there, piercing the veil between the worlds. And now, the burning question echoes in the depths of your mind. What do you think of all this? Is the dark vastness of our oceans just a repository of bizarre life and geological phenomena, or does it hide much deeper secrets? Perhaps even portals to other realities? Are we truly alone in this universe? Or are the most shocking answers, and perhaps the greatest dangers or greatest revelations, hidden right here beneath the crushing pressure of the abyssal waters? I really want to hear your perspective. Go down to the comment section and leave your theory, your doubts, your opinion. Do you believe in the possibility of underwater portals? Do you think interdimensional creatures could coexist with us without us realizing it? Or is this all just fertile imagination? There is no wrong answer when we are exploring the limits of the known. And if our immersion in the strangest possibilities left you with a flea behind your ear, if it opened your mind to how vast and mysterious our own planet still is, then let this idea travel even further. Share this video with that friend of yours who also has a restless mind, who loves a good cosmic mystery, who devours theories that challenge the status quo and conventional thinking. Let's together create a wave of curiosity, spread inquiry, and continue our collective exploration of the universe's best kept secrets. And who would have thought perhaps the greatest of them are right here, in our own enigmatic ocean. So the next time your eyes rest on the seemingly serene vastness of the ocean, whether at the beach on a boat trip, or even gazing at a world map, remember this: you are witnessing only the epidermis, the thin surface layer of an incredibly deep and alien world. What truly stirs and exists down there in the abyssal and hadal zones, under pressures that defy matter and in a darkness that has lasted for millennia, remains one of the deepest and most persistent enigmas of our blue planet. Could this darkness be the veil that hides a portal to another universe, a crack in reality through which energies and perhaps even entities from another dimension can leak into ours? Could bioluminescent, highly adapted creatures be the unwitting guardians of this passage? Or perhaps themselves descendants of interdimensional travelers lost in time? Or is all of this just, and I put just in quotation marks as there is nothing simple about it, the result of billions of years of evolution in one of the most hostile and isolated environments on Earth, producing life forms so strange that they seem to defy our very definition of life? We may never reach a definitive and unequivocal answer to these questions. Perhaps the very nature of the deep ocean is to guard its secrets with insurmountable tenacity. Or maybe the answer is much closer than we realize, pulsing silently beneath the waves, just waiting for the right technological breakthrough, the right open-mindedness, or perhaps an unexpected catalytic event to emerge from the shadows and redefine our understanding of the cosmos. Truth, as the old adage insists on reminding us, often surpasses the most delusional fiction in its strangeness. And the search for this truth, the exploration of the limits of our knowledge, this fascinating journey, it has barely begun. Here on this channel, our mission is to continue this exploration together, delving fearlessly into the enigmas that surround us. Be they in the depths of space, in the mysteries of the human mind, or in the abyssal pits of our own planet. We will continue to question, speculate, investigate other mysteries as deep and disconcerting as this one. So keep your curiosity sharp and your eyes open. Stay tuned, because the next journey we will undertake together will transport you to another intriguing corner of the unknown, unraveling veils and challenging perceptions. You definitely won't want to miss out. The video with our next adventure will soon appear on your screen. Thank you so much for joining us on this exploration today.